If you're a senior getting ready for that amazing trip you've been planning, there's always that one little question that can creep in, right? What on earth happens if I get sick over there? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain on the Globehopper Senior Travel Insurance Policy. It's a plan built specifically to answer that very question and, hopefully, give you some real peace of mind.
So here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with why this kind of safety net is so crucial. Then we'll dive into the nitty-gritty of what's covered for both medical stuff and other travel headaches. And this is a big one. We'll also talk about what's not covered. And finally, we'll walk through exactly what you need to do if you have to make a claim.
Okay, first things first. Let's talk about the why. Why is a specialized plan like this so important for seniors heading out of the country?
This is it. This is probably the most important thing for any U.S. senior to get straight before a trip. Does your Medicare have your back overseas? And the answer, with very few exceptions, is a flat no. That is a massive hole in your safety net. And that's precisely the hole this kind of policy is designed to plug.
All right, let's zoom out and look at the big picture. Who can actually get this plan, and how can you tweak the coverage to make sense for you?
So this is the first checkpoint, and the rules are pretty specific. The question is, are you eligible for this plan? Let's find out. You know, these requirements are super specific for a good reason. You've got to be at least 65, a U.S. citizen or resident, and this is the key, you have to be enrolled in Medicare Parts A and B, plus a Medigap or Medicare Advantage plan. Why? Because this policy is meant to be a supplement to what you already have back home, not a replacement. It's designed to kick in only when you're outside the U.S.
And here's where you get to tailor the plan. You pick a maximum limit. That's the total amount the policy could possibly pay, all the way from $50,000 up to $1 million. You also pick a deductible, which is just the amount you pay first before the insurance kicks in. Usually, a higher deductible means your premium is a bit lower, so you can really adjust it to fit your own comfort level and budget.
Okay, now we are getting to the absolute heart of the policy, the medical emergency coverage. I mean, let's be honest, this is the main reason anybody buys travel insurance in the first place.
That $1 million number? That's the top-tier maximum limit for your medical bills. This is for the big stuff: hospital stays, surgeries, doctor's visits. Now, the policy pays what it calls usual, reasonable, and customary charges. All that really means is it covers the typical, expected costs for those medical services in the city or country you're in.
But what if the local hospital just isn't equipped to handle what you need? That's where evacuation benefits become absolutely critical. You can see the coverage changes based on how urgent it is, up to $250,000 for a true life or limb emergency evacuation compared to $25,000 for a less dire medical move. And in the absolute worst-case scenario, the policy provides up to $50,000 to bring a loved one's remains home. So what exactly counts as an emergency medical evacuation? The definition is really specific. It's for a situation where the care you can get locally is not good enough, and not moving you could literally mean losing your life or a limb within 24 hours. So this is for the most serious scenarios imaginable. And it is so important to know that the insurance company must coordinate and approve it before it happens.
And the emergency support doesn't just stop with medical transport. The plan also has a $50,000 emergency reunion benefit to fly a family member to be with you. It also covers up to $5,000 for a local ambulance and even $50,000 for a political evacuation if you get caught in a dangerous situation and need to get out of the country. There's even a little $100 benefit for a sudden painful dental emergency.
All right, let's shift gears from the big medical emergencies. What about all the other what-ifs that can ruin a trip? Let's take a look at how the policy handles those common travel mishaps.
So the policy also gives you a safety net for those non-medical headaches. For instance, you've got a $5,000 benefit if you have to cut your trip short for a covered reason, like a sudden death in the family. There's also some coverage if the airline loses your checked bags for identity theft, and even some help with a hotel room if a natural disaster means you have to clear out. This next part is just as important as knowing what is covered. Seriously, to be a smart traveler, you have to know the limits. So, let's talk about what is not covered. This is it. This is probably the single most important exclusion to wrap your head around in any travel medical plan: pre-existing conditions. But the devil is in the details. What exactly does the policy consider pre-existing? That definition is everything.
This is such a critical distinction. Okay, so the rule is that a pre-existing condition is basically anything that was going on in the 3 years before your plan starts. And that's true even if you didn't have an official diagnosis.
That's pretty broad. However, there is one huge exception, and it's for a sudden and unexpected reoccurrence. Think of it as a flare-up of a stable condition that came out of nowhere. In that specific situation, there's a limited benefit of up to $2,500 for medical bills and $25,000 for an evacuation.
And there are a few other key things to be aware of that aren't covered. The policy won't pay for routine checkups or shots, mental health treatment, or most dental work. It also doesn't cover you while you're in the USA. Remember, it's for international travel only. And finally, injuries you get doing certain adventure sports or anything that happens while you're under the influence of alcohol or unprescribed drugs are also excluded.
Okay, we're on the home stretch. If the unexpected happens and you actually need to use your insurance, what do? Let's walk through the claims process, because your role in it is incredibly important.
To make sure your claim gets paid, you have to follow these 3 steps to the letter. First, and this is absolutely non-negotiable, you have to pre-certify. That means calling the insurance company before you're admitted to a hospital or before you have surgery, an MRI, or a CAT scan. Second, you have to save every single original bill and receipt. Copies are not going to work. And finally, you have 90 days from the date of your treatment to get that full documented claim submitted. You have to think of this as a mandatory checklist, not a list of suggestions. So why are we harping on that first step so much? Why is pre-certification so vital? Well, because the policy is crystal clear. If you fail to do it, your benefits can get chopped in half. A 50% penalty is massive. So that phone call isn't just a good idea. It's probably the most important thing you can do to protect your full coverage.
And there you have it, the Globe Hopper Senior Policy. From who can get it, to what it doesn't cover, to how you make a claim. We've looked at what it's for, what it isn't for, and the rules of the road you have to follow. So really, the big question to ask yourself before you start packing is this: is my travel safety net ready to go for my next big adventure? Because knowing that answer is the real key to traveling with genuine peace of mind. Thanks for joining.